With the international break coming to an end and with the Premier League back on, before we get into the nitty and the gritty of everything else, how are our teams doing? Newcastle, Chelsea, the Premier League, the XG table. What does it all mean? Let's find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Cher. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Bobby and Cher win!
All right. Good evening, folks. I hope you guys are blessed. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Tuesday, get into the middle of the week, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope you guys are blessed, whether it's morning, evening, or afternoon. I hope you guys are good. As always, I'm really looking forward to tonight's show with our special guest, Bobby Fairview. I'm going to introduce in a moment. We're going to be talking, going to get a little bit nerdy today. We're going to be talking about an XG table. We're going to talk about other things around when we're talking about underlying stats and metrics. Obviously, we're going to relate it to Newcastle, to Chelsea. But every time we talk about like metrics and this and that, sometimes it helps to know exactly what we're talking about. And so, without further ado, allow me to introduce our friend of the channel. He's not even a special guest anymore. He's part of the furniture. It's been absolutely, I know folks really enjoy having him around, so it's always a blessing to have him in on. Mr. Bobby Fairview, how are you doing, sir?
Big up, Philip. Big up to the chat. Always good to be here. Friend of the channel, indeed. I know we were trying to get this done a week ago, and it's good that we finally have been able to put some material to get together for the folks. Hope we don't bore them too much.
We've both battled through the flu, so we've made it to the other side, and this show has been well overdue. Good to see Aaron in the chat. Good evening, all. God bless you, Aaron. Good to see you. Evening, Bobby. Aaron gives you a good evening. Hope all is well. Hey. Right. So, folks, as we talked about, we want to get right into it tonight. We're going to be talking about all things metrics, stats, all things XG tables, Chelsea, Newcastle. So every time we're talking about XGs, every time we're talking about the game, what does it all mean? I don't know about you, Bobby, before we get into the slides and the tables and everything else. I feel like, people say there's the eye test guys and there's the data guys. I don't understand why people don't talk about it more of like both. Why don't people want to merge the both? Like, what's your like initial thoughts on that?
I believe that the data validates what you think you're seeing. Because how many times do you watch a game? You think a player is doing a particular thing, but then you look at the stats and they're actually quite mediocre.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, I think you have to do both. But look, I gotta admit, I probably started to show my age, and I don't think I'm that old. But I'm reaching that stage of my life where I'm becoming more and more resistant to change.
Right.
Where the good old days always seem so glorious, but they didn't at the time. All the nostalgia that you're looking backwards, you begin to see your age, right? So I must admit that when the XG data started to come in, first I thought it was, the usual American influence taking over European sport, and the usual resistance there, there's judgment in it, blah, blah, blah. So I think I've been I'm a slow adopter, if you like. But as you get more and more into the theory, you really understand how it kind of gives the best reflection of manager performance to me. That's how I find it useful. That's how I've been using it. How about yourself? How have you been? I know you talk about it a lot in your sessions.
Yeah, I think because I'm always trying to be objective as I can, and numbers are the best way I can do that. And especially with conversations with people, because often with emotions. I'll always tell you Newcastle are the best team in the world, right? You can tell you that's the emotions, right? So let's get some numbers here to add some objectivity to what we're doing. So I feel like numbers provide that. I'm a big advocate of doing both, though, using what you see
Mm-hmm.
and also the numbers and the numbers as well, because as you know, there's numbers, but then there's also the skill in actually how to read those numbers. Like I'm still learning that myself. Like you have to know. I think you have to know, I guess, why you're getting. So, for instance, some people say, so there'll be certain defenders, for instance, playing for relegation sides, whose tackling stats are through the roof, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're the best tacklers in the world. Well, probably because they have to spend a lot of time to having to tackle people, right?
Right,
So
right,
there's,
right.
so it's I feel like that's the type of skill, that's the type of way. I feel like also going to more to your point, Bobby, is like, for instance, when people compare the best midfielders, Caicedo, Declan Rice's, and especially when I'm like on rival channels, and I don't always give. It sounds like I don't give a straight answer on these things when I say, "Oh, but it's difficult because this player plays that system, that plays that system." No, but can't you see the forward stats? Can't you see the this and that stats? And yes, like it matters, but then you've also got to understand. Okay, what if Declan Rice plays in the same system as Casado? Would those numbers be the same? And what the good thing is, I don't know if you noticed as well. There's a lot of people you meant before the show. You mentioned, I think it's Canon Stats, and there's others
Yeah.
who give you the numbers, but they also teach you how to read those numbers or those stats. Like,
Right.
so
Right.
that's I see it kind of evolving that way, and because they like on the Declan Rice and Casado thing, they talked about, okay, this is what these stats mean for these players, but then they kind of like, I don't know how they did it, but they kind of like took out certain numbers and kind of put certain images together where they said, okay, if you were to play Casado in this system or Declan Rice in this system, this is what this person would be better at, this is what that person's better at, type of thing. And it was like it seemed more objective. So
Got it. But
yeah.
that's some really advanced
Yeah.
analysis to decide what to strip out. Right. But sure, but first you have to claim you understand the system it's being
Right.
used,
Right.
and then to translate that to know what to strip out.
Exactly. So there's a lot of work, but it's like if you enjoy football, like number one, if you're passionate about football, but you're also passionate about kind of understanding what you're watching and letting people know. Like my other work is, which I'm enjoying now, is like telling people about it. Like I want to be able to do the best job I can to kind of do it. So you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy this, and you guys will enjoy the show as well. Speaking of the chat, the numbers are really fluctuating. I'm going like from 40 to like back to 6. So I don't know what's going on, but always great to have people. Got a few people as well, new people or people that have been there before. God bless you guys. Garcia Paredes says hi. There's also one from, I don't know if you might be Russian, but it says Stilnaya Staniev per 9. If you're still on there, welcome to the show. If you're wondering how I can read that, it's because I'm half Russian myself. So
Are you really? 'Cause I was looking for the name you just called, and I can see it, but no, I can't.
So let me know. Is it Stilan Staniev? If you're still on here, say hello. Always welcome. Ninja Chris, I don't know what you're smoking, but welcome to the show anyway. God bless you. Aaron says data is important, but I feel some of the data could be skewed because of the different. We're talking about that exactly. Different factors. For me, the eye test is always more important, in my opinion. What's your thoughts on that, Bobby? Eye test or data? Which one is it for you? Or is it?
The data to me is always foolproof, right? But you cannot rely on data without watching the game.
Yeah.
Right? You can always tell a guy who was on Twitter shooting his mouth off just based on stats. You can tell he's actually not watching the game, right? So I hear you, but for me, you can't argue with data. And when I say data, I'm talking about the hard data. I'm not talking about XG, which then has some judgments involved in it and requires calculation.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. I think that there's a science and an art to it. I think the science, obviously, the data itself. I think the science is how to interpret that data, and so yeah, I think it's a bit of both. So speaking of data, this is probably we want to start off first with the data that's most important, and that's the
Can't argue
league.
with this one.
No, we can't. We can't argue with this one at the moment, and I have to scroll down a little bit to see where Newcastle are at, but Chelsea are third. For instance, 11 games played, 6 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, plus 10 goal difference is really good. 21 goals scored with 11 goals conceded. We'll get to Newcastle in a moment, but in a in a brief thought, Bobby, what's your kind of feel? What's your thoughts on Chelsea being third and everything that you're doing? And I was going to add to that, which was, I don't know if you remember our previous conversation when we were talking about XG, all this stuff was kind of started beginning really. I was saying that your goals are reflective on the amount of goals you're scoring at the time. I think it was after 5-6 games, was reflective of an attacking system, a system that actually was creating chances on a consistent base, and it seems to have played out like from that as well. I was a bit unsure about the defensive start of things, but your attacking stats are still very, very good. I mean, how you feel about Chelsea so far this season? You're third, and everything else.
I struggle with the table a bit, and I think preparing for this show, I didn't get a chance to actually go back to see how wide the dispersion is in terms of points after 11 games last year. But I feel like this table is tighter than usual. If you see the points difference between where Chelsea is in third and where Brighton is in the bottom half,
yeah,
we're literally talking about a win, a loss, and a draw.
Yes.
Right. And when you look at the fixtures, which we will hopefully have a minute to do coming on at the end, you'll see that Chelsea actually had, well, statistically, they had the easiest start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the untold story. I like where we are in the league table. Mm-hmm. I don't like the number of points that we have. 20 points from 33 with the easiest start in the league is probably not good enough.
Wow. You won't hear many Chelsea fans, well, online anyway, from what I've seen online, you're not going to hear, you don't hear that part too much either. So that's
they're not. I don't think they're paying attention to the fixtures that are coming up.
I think we've
got Burnley next, and it's miserable. Yeah, go ahead.
You got Burnley, then you got Barcelona. Let me just quickly, as we're talking about it, you got Burnley, Barcelona, Chelsea. So let's see, Chelsea. So but from Burnley to Barcelona, which is interesting. Champions League is fine. We're not going to pay too much attention to it. But then you've got Arsenal. I think that's at home, Stamford Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got Leeds away, Bournemouth at home.
And and Leeds is now getting into a relegation scrap, right? So those boys are going to be fighting hard.
Exactly. Then Atlanta, difficult. Everton.
Well, Bournemouth away is going to be difficult.
Bournemouth away is going to be difficult. Yeah. I think Bournemouth's at home. Let me just. Which one? If Chelsea are at top, does that mean you're at home or away? What does it say?
Yeah, that means that
you're at home. You're at home against Arsenal, so that means you're at home to Bournemouth.
So which means I'm away to Bournemouth, right? Because Bournemouth is listed first.
Is it? Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. So you're away to Bournemouth. You're right. Yeah, Vitality. Okay, that's going to be difficult.
There we go.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult then.
Everton at home is not bad. Away to Newcastle, that's usually problematic.
Hopefully we'll fix up by then.
Then Villa, then Bournemouth again. Like, this is insane. Then City. Tell me where the points are coming from. Okay,
we're going to get to that because So you're anticipating a tough time.
I think we're 6 points behind where we should be at this stage, given the start that we have. And the Champions League ramping up. No international breaks for a while. So it's
Yeah.
just going to be every 3 days.
So you
Right.
could have done. So you could have done with a cushion, is what you're saying. You could have done with
I think we need some buffer. I think we needed some buffer.
That's it, buffer. Yeah. Okay. Newcastle. We are currently sitting 14th with after 11 games, 3 wins. Is it 3 wins?
Actually, before we go there, what were your thoughts on where Chelsea is? I'm not going to let you escape that easily.
Do you know what? Going back
Because
to
I know that you secretly like Maresca, but carry on.
I do think it's interesting. You mentioned earlier how we can be nostalgic for the past. And I can see you're fighting for it every time you're talking about Chelsea. But for instance, so I have to, and I'm almost proving myself wrong as well because we're actually going to find out because I did say when we did our season predictions that I thought Chelsea would stagnate and go backwards. And just because I felt that the transfers, the recruitment was 2 steps forward, 2 steps back in terms of if we count all of it together. So I thought, okay, if you haven't really, if according to my calculations, my own personal opinion, you haven't moved forward with the way the Premier League is always changing and teams adapting and growing, then we are going to see we're going to see you guys going backwards. Then we had, obviously, as I mentioned, the conversation about 4 or 5 games into the season when we had, when we did the XG for Chelsea, for Newcastle, and everything else. And I saw how good your attacking stats were, and they were consistent. It wasn't by accident. You have an attacking system. Yeah, a leaky defense. I thought that some of that leaky defense could be ascribed to for the fact that you haven't had a consistent back four through injuries and everything else. So I think my overall view of that game from that period and on to now, Chelsea are a good team. Like they're between a good they're a good team offensively. There's a lot of work to do defensively, but I think Chelsea are a good team and a good attacking team. And I feel like the points you have and the position where you're at is deserved. What's going to happen next? I don't know. So I know that you hate the whole inverted fullbacks thing and everything else, but especially the offensive stats and everything else show that it's working. Like, right? You create a lot of chances, which is what you're supposed to do. And so far, the team is I think it deserves to be where it is in the table, in my opinion.
First. Yeah, I mean, just a quick reaction to that. I think our centre backs have received a lot of criticism. To your point, though, the attack has been really good, and I think the goals and the opportunities are being spread around the attack as well. I can't really think of just one standout attacker. So look, I got to give Maresca credit for the attacking production, if you like. I am not comfortable with the way the centre backs are being exposed. I actually don't think we have a centre back problem. I think we have a midfield problem, and it has to do with the fact that all the midfielders are just too attacking. It could actually be that simple, leaving Caicedo on an island. But anyway, yeah. So that's interesting to get your thoughts on that. I know that you're a secret fan of my coach. I'd be delighted to swap.
Really? No, I'm sticking with Eddie. I did a whole show talking about how I'm sticking with Eddie. But big up Adrian Pickett. Good to see. Yeah, I've got 2 streams because there's some new thing on StreamYard about being able to do one show on landscape, one show on portrait. I thought, okay, let me try it out. I'm already beginning to regret it. So at least if you don't try things out, you don't know. Because last time I did the show, one stream got like 70 views. The other one got like 380. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, it's just insane. So I don't know, guys. Let me know if because I can't see the other stream. Is the other one? I don't know if this one's landscape or this one's portrait, whatever it is. Let me know, guys, if you see it. Let me know which one you prefer, if anything, and I'll try and do the one stream with whichever way people like to see it. But big up Adrian, good to see you. Any otherwise. But in terms of Newcastle, look, where we are 14th, 11 games played, 3 wins, 3 draws. Is it 5 losses? It is 5 losses, a lot of losses. Minus 3 goal difference, 11 goals scored and 14 goals conceded. Now, I won't regurgitate too much what I said in the previous show, but essentially, uh, we've been missing our first. We haven't had the greatest start points wise. If we had this show, you and me, Bobby, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would have been saying underlying metrics. We're going to get better. We're going to do better. But that has also gone down a little bit. We're going to be talking about that. But I think part of the reason it's gone down is we've been missing our first team fullbacks. I do also think that and I said in the previous show that Eddie's obviously using a different. He's trying to use a more conservative approach in games and trying to not resist, kind of avoid as many injuries as possible. Once he gets so he can rotate in different games, Champions League, League Cups, and everything else. So, for instance, Champions League, we're sixth at the moment, doing well. Obviously, League Cup, we're in the quarterfinals, so that's paved the way. The problem has been the Premier League. I partly think a big part of the reason why we're not doing as well in the Premier League, I think, is because the Premier League quality is better than what we faced so far in the cup competitions that we've been in. So we definitely need our full strength team back as well. So a lot for us to work on. So that's why I'm especially keen, and my screen's flicked over a little bit, to see the metrics and to see the stats and see, a little bit, get underneath the hood a little bit in terms of the metrics and see where Newcastle at, to see hopefully if that would improve. But for you, Bobby, I'm not going to let you get away with it either. I mean,
Sure.
what do you make of Newcastle's season so far?
Look, I was frustrated with Newcastle in the summer with the reluctance to part with Isak when it was clear that he wanted to leave. I was also critical of Eddie Howe. I never really gave credibility that he got the sporting director or CEO sacked. I can't remember which one it was.
Paul Mitchell.
All right. I figured that's
he left.
I figured that was just rumor, people trying to backfill a story. But I then felt that with the proceeds, he did a pretty good job of the spending that was done. I don't know if it was him, what sport he got from the club itself, but he had a lot of responsibility. I think they ended up using the money quite well. I am not sure that you solved some of the midfield problem. I think you're at this weird stage where some of the old guard that's done well for you over the 3 years are probably now starting to creak a little. You could have reinforced a first team player, I think, particularly in the 10 position. I think that's becoming more and more obvious. But I think the loss of Wisa was actually a big blow.
Yeah.
Right. I think the shopping that you did for the strikers, replacing a 1 with 2, and 2 that had an equal, if not better, conversion rate was outstanding work. But injuries have been a problem. Now, as you know, you came across the analysis, and I think Mitch did at some point as well, that I started doing. And that's because I came across an exhibit by a guy called Cannon Stats.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared that with you at the time because I think you and I had been fresh off of a show. And I was curious about your focus on XG as a metric to understand performance. I never really looked at it that way. I just thought it was, hey, yeah, that's interesting. Chance creation versus taking a chances, not taking a chances. I thought it was just that.
Yeah.
Or teams not taking the chances against you versus taking chances against you. That's the simplistic lens I had with XG until I started talking to you. So Cannon Stats had this really interesting exhibit where he used the XG table, but reduced expected goals and expected goals against by 30%, I think it was,
Yeah.
of actual goals and actual goals for and actual goals against. And I looked at that, and Arsenal was way, way, way out, in that table in terms of that weighted XG table, if you like. And then I realized that Newcastle was actually like in fifth or fourth place.
Yeah,
This was
yeah.
like 5 games in, to your point,
Yeah.
right? But so then I started to I put the analysis into an AI tool and really tried to understand what Canon Stats was doing. And so, that then caused me to start producing this table every game week, if you like, just for fun. I mean, look, I'm not on Twitter for followers per se. I'm there to engage with people who want to have an intelligent conversation about football and nerdy stuff occasionally, right? Particularly football finance. But
You're doing
stats
well,
as well.
though. A lot of people are following you.
Well, 600 probably does nothing to compare to the others. But look, I do have a crew that likes to engage on
Yeah.
substantive topics, which is what overlaps with your channel and why I care so much, right? So I made a post, and I've been weekly posting this weighted XG table. It is not as weighted, and we'll get into the methodology, etc. But that is where I started to see that Eddie Howe was living off of his defense.
Yeah.
His attack was struggling, but he was fairly high up in my weighted XG table in around game week 5. But what I've seen is him slowly falling down that weighted XG table, and it is because you're starting to leak chances.
Yeah.
All right. So you start to wonder, well, what is really going on there? That's not like Newcastle. You've not lost key players other than the fullbacks. Maybe that is the issue. I'm not sure, but just seeing you descend that table, I think is my weighted table is what was a bit concerning.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think the West Ham game and now the Brentford game, jeez Louise, both games we were 1-0 up. Anyway, I'm going to get into it, but we were 1-0 up in both those games. And yeah, geez Louise. So we're going to talk about well, speaking of the XG table, shall we go into that one first?
Yeah, let's
Bobby,
pull it up. Yeah, let's pull it up.
Let's get that on. Where are you? Here we go. Can you see that, Bobby? Can you guys see that?
Well, sorry. Can you look at the actual XG table there on FootMob first? Because this is the weighted one. So if you go back to FootMob.
To FootMob?
Yeah, you were just on FootMob, right?
No, it was a Sofa Score.
Oh, sorry. So just pull. So do they have an XG table?
No, they just have a league table. Who has an XG table?
FootMob has one. So if you go to
do
FootMob,
they?
Okay. Oh, great that I can teach you something new. Go to FootMob for sure.
Lead the way. Where is it?
So go to the Premier League. They're on the left.
All right.
And then you're gonna say go to table. Scroll to the top. You'll see table.
They have an XG table. That's crazy. Where is it?
XG table. There we go. Look, XG.
Oh my word! Yeah, they do.
That's where I get it from.
That is insane.
Bobby, you're the biggest XG merchant I know. You didn't even know that this existed. That's wild.
I had no clue. Walk us through it, Bobby. Like, honestly, because I haven't got a clue. Walk us through this.
Yeah, guys. So look, if you go to FootMob, you'll find that they have the regular table. And actually, if you go to the top, just to see the options that FootMob has, because they're probably the best tool on this, you see the home and away table. And I'm sure that your away table is shambolic. You probably are in relegation territory if you look for Newcastle.
Our home table is not too good either. We're 14th. We're 14th.
The away must be shambolic.
And the away 15th.
Actually, it's not that bad. It's not that bad, actually. Is it Spurs? It might be Spurs.
So Spurs are like number 1 when it comes to Spurs are number 1 away.
But their home form is
relegation.
Right.
I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even understand how. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about Tottenham's. But
if you go back to the XG, as you were saying, Just
Yes.
how I read this table. So in my previous, pre my playing with weighted average tables, what I constantly looked at last year is that I found that you see the small numbers, the minus 0.1, the plus 0.7.
Next to the team. Yeah.
Sorry, just over to your right. So let's just go through the columns, right? So XG, just looking at Arsenal there, they've got an XG of 19.3, right?
Yeah.
But they're +7, meaning so that's showing their performance over their actuals over their performance. They're overperforming by only 0.7.
So this is them. Like this is a true reflection of how what they're performing in terms of their goals scored and everything else. It's exactly who they are. Yeah.
Right. So there's exactly who they are. They're slightly doing better than they're expected to do, is the way to do it in terms of a goal scored.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly on the XG, that's a little bit better for them because they are 1.1 less goals against than expected.
Mm-hmm.
So although that's a negative number, that negative 1.1, it is negative for XG, meaning they have conceded one less goal than they were expected to concede. And that's how I discovered this table last year, because that number was like 6 for Maresca for half the year. And it was driving
Is it one?
bonkers.
Is it one more goal? So is in the sense of like they've conceded, I don't know, 6, but they should have conceded 5, or is it the other way around? They've conceded 6, but they should have okay, they should have conceded 7. Okay,
they should have. Sorry. I think we should be able to see it. So if you go to the actual table, you'll see what their goals against were. So we'll know the exact direction. So go to all. Goals.
So they considered 5.
Right. So and that's 6.1. So yes. So in other words, they were supposed to concede 6.1, but they only conceded 5. The difference is 1.1.
Right. Which isn't bad. Which is
not bad, right?
Yeah. No one's saying Arsenal's getting away with it. Like
exactly right.
Yeah. Right.
Last year at this stage, before Maresca ran into Everton away in December, he was running at something like 6 positive in goals against.
Okay.
This man was just skating by, and it was driving me absolute nuts because I know he was rubbish. I know he was going to get found out, and I was just on this table every week cursing. Okay. Yeah. So that's how I got familiar with this table, but that's how I used it. Am I conceding more than so those little green and red numbers tells you, am I conceding more or less than expected? Am I scoring more or less than expected, right? So that's how I use the XG table before.
So what's the numbers next to them? Like you see where Palace is, next to them is +7, but it's in red. What does that mean? Do you know?
So I think that means that Palace on the XG table is 7 places better than they are in the actual table.
Okay. So Chelsea, you're currently
worse.
Third. You're on the XG table. So Bobby, if I about Chelsea, it sounds like Chelsea are worthy of their current position. You're only 0.3 from the in terms of plus, in terms of your XG. So you must have scored about 20 goals or something, 21 goals or something like that. And okay, you're minus 0.2.8 for XGs conceded. So there is an argument to suggest that you should have conceded maybe 3 goals. Is that right?
Yeah, this is lucky Maresca, right? This number is never read. You see that 2.8? I've never seen this table with him conceding more than he should have. It's always the other way around. So he is it. Sorry.
So what's this +2 next to the 18? Next to your 18, what does that mean?
That means that in the actual table you've got 2 points more than 18. Because that's your expected points, right? So if you go to the actual table, you'll see Maresca has 2 more points.
Has 20 points. He has 20 points. Okay. So according to the XG table, does that mean what the XG is saying is that Chelsea are only overperforming by 2 points?
And that is correct. Chelsea is only overperforming by 2 points.
Okay.
And that again was based on a weak start. But look, we are 1 place higher than our expected position should be.
Okay.
That's what the XG table is saying.
So does that mean Maresca is not so lucky anymore?
I still think 3 XG against where he should have conceded 3 more goals. That's kind of pretty high in this stage in the season. So teams are still
that's true. That's true.
Teams are still not taking their chances against Chelsea, right?
Right.
We've also played some pretty bad teams because we had the easiest start of the season.
Yeah.
So again, a bit of a false position. But look, we shake through the noise. We try to, according to Mitch, bring a number of data points together to see if we can get the emotion out of it and present a table that is more reflective of the math. And that's where he started publishing the weighted table.
Go to Newcastle in the moment, but just to say, folks in the chat, thanks guys for letting me know about you prefer the landscape version. I'll probably too, because you see all the stuff. Adrian also says we'll be eating the crumbs under Bobby's table soon if things don't turn around. Oh yeah. But even with that, I mean, I think we're 8 points behind Chelsea at the moment as well. Aaron says Maresca has done well considering the defense Chelsea isn't great. Yeah, a lot of injuries as well. And I wouldn't. You're overperforming a little bit, but not significantly. Where I would say you are like the luckiest team, on the table. You shouldn't. You don't belong. I wouldn't go that far. But I, like yourself, Bobby, what's going to happen? Worried, obviously. Once you get a tougher fixture schedule, your ever rotating the back line is problematic. So let's see
what better attackers who will take their chances.
Exactly. And teams, all the teams, all of us are going to adapt to each other. Like at some point, so we're all going to know what each other's about. So what happens then?
But Leeds has been mighty unlucky. I mean, teams have scored 5 more goals against them than they should have.
Yeah.
Teams are just taking the chances on poor Leeds and they're getting hammered, right?
And is the -4 here to say that they should have, if they had taken their chances and the teams hadn't scored, they should be on 19 points? Is that what it's saying?
They have 4 less points than they should.
They have 4 less points. Okay, so they have 4 less points. Interesting. So they should be on 15.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So for Newcastle, they think that we should be on 16. I think they'll probably count West Ham and other games like that to that. We've got plus 2.6 for the XGA, so for the goals conceded. So is that saying that we're overperforming?
Yeah, so this seems to suggest, and this is where Newcastle is confusing, right? So you realize all of your small numbers are red.
Yes.
So even to the left, if you go to the left, the small number on the left in terms of rank in the table, you got a red 5. Okay. so
I'm worried. I'm like, it's like I'm waiting for. I've been to the dentist recently, and I was like, what's wrong with my teeth? Like, I'm like, I can feel the same feeling. Talking to you at the moment, I'm waiting anticipation. Sorry, go on, Bobby. Go on.
So you're higher in the XG table than you are in the actual table by 5.
Yeah.
That's why that 5 is red, although it's positive. So in other words, it's positive in the XG table, meaning that you're higher in the XG table by 5 positions. Okay. And then as you go to the right, what you're saying is, well, actually, you have scored 2.2 goals less than you should have.
Mm-hmm.
And teams have also scored 2.6 goals less than they should have against you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means you're getting lucky to some extent, almost as lucky as Maresca. I should have made you laugh in that situation. almost as lucky as Baraska,
Yeah.
but then you're pretty unlucky. But here's where I get confused. Your striker is taking his chances.
Yeah.
He needs 2 shots to score a goal, which does not happen normally, particularly quarter way into a season. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's any other striker with that level of efficiency in the league.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a very efficient player, but for some reason you're not actually you're almost you're 2 goals short of where you should have been. And then in general, your defense is getting hammered. So it's starting to get hammered. That was actually supporting you for quite a while. I don't know where the deterioration started to happen over the season, and maybe it has to do with Livermento's injury. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're targeting Dan Burn more and more down that side, and also Kieran Trippier to a lesser extent. So even for us to play out the back, our defenders don't really want to pass to Dan Burn in tight spaces because he's not. God bless Dan Burn. It's just the reality of what the situation is. If Lewis Hall is in a tight space, you don't have a problem passing to Lewis Hall because he's just better than Dan Burn in those situations, right? So teams feel that they can press us, which they do, because what that leaves us is with only 2 options when we're playing out from the back is Bruno Gomes and Tonali. So therefore, the best you can do is surround Bruno Gomes and Tonali, and so their performances have been slightly dropping off as well. And in terms of like going the other way, where you'd have Voltamada dropping into the midfield area to collect the ball, there's not been enough runners in behind to kind of take the space that he's created for us and take advantage of it. Part of that reason is because I think it's because with the fullbacks being Dan Burn and Trippier kind of being so closer to our goal, there's gaps that's being formed up, and as a result, our left wing and our right wingers are trying to cover for the fullbacks, are coming towards the ball rather than making runs in behind. So there's a lot for Newcastle to kind of. So I know. So you, for instance, you mentioned having a number 10, and I think we've got a journalist called Craig Hope is big on number 10. For Newcastle, our number 10s is our fullbacks. In a way, like they're
No,
the
I get
guys.
that because that's what Thomas Tuchel used to do. Yeah.
Oh, right. So exactly.
When we won that Champions League, that's how we won it.
That's so this I'm talking to the right person, so you know exactly what that feels like.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
that's they change everything for us in every phase of play. From the build up, having a Lewis Hall who's very good in tight spaces, or having a Tino Livramento with his his ability to carry the ball, his burst of pace, all the way to the midfield where we are then able to outnumber the players as midfielders, which also encourages our left wingers and right wingers to either push in and surround Voltamada, giving him players to pass the ball to, as well as exploit the space. So all of that, I'm saying that all of that collapses without our fullbacks. So
it's a good thing you actually said that, because I would have listened to you and I would have been in the chat there saying, Phil is reaching here. Always making excuses for Eddie. But now that you actually say it, I don't know if you recall, that year after Chelsea won the Champions League, the season afterwards, Chilwell and Reece James got injured.
Right.
And that was around the December time. And that's when the wheels started to fall off.
Right.
So it's clear that Livramento and Hall were big. And we had no number 10, no real 10. I mean, like, Mountain isn't really particularly creative.
No. Yeah.
Right. So that's where the creativity was coming from. That's where the threat was coming from. And the fall off when the two of them got injured was massive. Y'all are obviously going through the very same.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think we're looking to invest very heavily into fullbacks at the moment. Murillo from Nottingham Forest has been talked about. There's some other Spanish geezer. At the same time, though, we've got teams that want our fullbacks. So just released recently, there was a Man City again have come back. They're going to go for Tino again in the summer. I
After
wouldn't.
2 ACLs on one knee, though, I can't see this. I don't know. I wouldn't do that.
Has he had 2 ACLs? I thought he had the one.
I heard talk that he's. I don't know what is in the injury right now on the same knee.
Oh no, but it was not an ACL though. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's not an ACL. Thankfully, it's
Oh,
not
okay,
an
okay,
ACL.
okay, okay,
So
okay.
he's back on the grass at the moment.
Got it. Okay. Well, I shouldn't be spreading false news then.
No, 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 no. Like there was that worry. That's why they took extra time with him.
Got it.
But so I'm actually it's good that you understand exactly what I mean by fullbacks, why they're important, because obviously you experienced what you've experienced with Chelsea.
The example is obvious. I mean, everybody remembers that Chilwell, Reece James just peppering the league, and then two of them just injured. Done. Chelsea finished.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we're realizing that if you were to go back, and like I think Chelsea would have invested heavily into fullback rotations, because they do fullbacks nowadays cover a lot of ground. They have to do a lot, like in terms of literally in every phase of play. So those are the guys that you need to rotate the most. And so, for instance, Arsenal, Skelly, Calafiori on one side, Ben White, Urian Timber on the other side. That's pretty good cover. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty good rotation.
The only problem I have with Arsenal's fullbacks, and are we really? I wonder if we're going to run out of time, but because we got a lot of material to cover.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting conversation. Arsenal I find interesting because their fullbacks are centre backs.
Yeah.
Centre back hybrids.
Yeah.
I really don't know if they are the style that Eddie Howe and TT and Thomas Tuchel have been using. You see what I'm saying? I feel like the Arsenal's less reliant on their fullbacks than Tuchel and Eddie Howe are.
Yeah. Different systems. They kind of rotate players really well. You'd even find Declan Rice up fullback as well. But you're right. I need to move on as well. But so that's the table. Sure. That's where we're at. Let's actually talk about the XGs and the metrics in more detail. Sure. So, and folks, do please remember to, as you always do, like, share, and subscribe on both channels, wherever the other stream is going on. Guys, let's get that conversion rate up. So, Bobby, take it away. Expected goals, XG analysis, and predictive weighting.
But before we get into this, let's just pull up the post that I had made on X that actually shows the actual weighted table, so that folks can understand how I combine the XG table and the actual table.
Is this it?
If you go to my tweet.
It's not showing it. Okay. I took Bobby out by accident. Right. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. So just on the theme of so we've just been through the actual table. We've been through the raw XG table. And this is where I did not find them particularly useful in understanding performance or even predicting future performance.
Right.
And Canon Stats, this guy on Twitter, he alerted me to this weighting concept to really flesh out what teams are actually doing well, what's noise, what's not, right? So I started to play with combining the actual table with the XG table. And when we say weighting, what we're saying is we take the expected goals and create a goal difference that is expected goals less, that is 2/3 expected goals, 1/3 actual goals. And equally, you create a goals against, which is expected goals against in a 2-to-1 ratio with actual goals against, and come up with a goal difference, which I call net XG star or weighted XG. That's a mouthful. So kind conceptually, what we're trying to do, and actually, let's take a step back and let's think about the actual table and how that relates to goal difference.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back to FootMob?
Yeah.
And I want you to go to the actual table for the 24-25 season.
24-25 season.
So right in the top, yep, there we go. So actual table, so scroll down.
So that was the wrong one.
I don't want the XG table, I want the actual table. So go to all, that's the XG table.
Yeah.
So if you look at goal difference, it pretty much reflected generally the table until you hit Aston Villa. And then it started to get a little fuzzy, right? So between Aston Villa and what's that? Brentford?
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. It doesn't
Yeah.
really quite, it's not quite in order
Yeah.
of the goal difference, right? But what we're seeing is, what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand performance.
Mm-hmm.
And goals are the output, either goals conceded or goals scored.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're saying is that actual goals are more reflective of the XG table.
Right.
Actual goals. So if you did a table of goal difference, that's closer to the actual table than the XG table.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Apart from a couple outliers, basically. Essentially, yeah. I see what you're saying.
But the problem with using goal difference is that you could have a game like Chelsea away at Wolves, where we had an XG of 3 and scored, 5 or something like this. So the problem is actual goals includes lucky goals, lucky streaks. XG shows more of the process. So XG shows your process for creating goals.
Right.
And XG again shows your process for preventing goals.
Right.
And it gives you the net XG then is your expected net goal difference from that productivity.
Right.
So how do we get a table that marries productivity and results?
Right.
And actual results.
Right.
Actual results in terms of goal difference is more reflective of the actual table.
Right. And so
very complex concept, but foundational to what we're trying to do.
So you were saying earlier the actual goals are like 70% or 2/3, and then the XG is like obviously the 1/3, right?
Well, that's where we did some back testing, right? So if we go to if we just go quickly to my XG table first, and then we go to the slides.
Yeah.
So let's go back to my weighted table, right? So what I'm saying is this table is made up of 2/3 XG and 1/3 actual goals.
Right. Okay.
Right. So net XG is basically a goal difference that is 2/3 XG expected for and against, and 1/3 actual goals scored and goals against.
Okay.
And to me, this is what I settled on as I think most reflective of the performance of the teams during the season.
Okay.
Newcastle, when I did this game week 5, was around 4.
Right.
Okay. And it's dropping down to 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less aggressive in the movements. So if you can see the position to table, this is where I'm showing that Crystal Palace is actually producing at a net level goals for and against than the table actually reflects.
Right.
They're 6, in my estimation, their performance and what I expect them to do somewhat going forward is a 3rd place team.
Right.
But you picked up my tweet with the PL game week 10, Phil. I don't know if I sent you the correct thing. You've not picked up the game week 11.
Let me have a look, see if I can find it.
I Did I send you the wrong?
Oh
one?
yeah, I do. Yeah. Let me go. Let me see if I can stop sharing this. Oh, here we go. Let me get on this.
Sorry, folks. I usually publish this every week, so that's why Phil picked up the wrong one.
Here we go. Should be this one. Game week 11.
Perfect. Right.
We're even lower now.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's actually a good contrast to show that Newcastle is going slowly and slowly down in the table that I'm doing. And it's actually to do, you see, there we see Newcastle. I added a column to show what's the performance against previous week, change on the week. So you're down three positions in my weighted XG table. All right. So I'm now agreeing that the team is performing more and more poorly, and to your point, that explains the targeting of the defenders that are in the positions.
Yes. So what are you finding, Bob? Because you spoke about predictions going forward, and but at the same time, like you said, it gives you the last thing you said actually was kind of it gives you a good insight on team is performing poorly or a team is performing well. Obviously, it's 11 games in. What are you finding? Like, how are you now looking at teams? Because obviously, Arsenal and Man City. Obviously, we all know. Obviously, even just when talking, they're the teams that are performing well. But I think things like this, data like this, really exemplifies. No, they're actually really good teams, right? Especially Arsenal at the moment. City coming up as well, but offensively and defensively, really good teams. What are you thinking? What are you finding? Because obviously, like you mentioned, Newcastle is almost like a case in study. Obviously, we talked about the fullback situation at the moment, and yes, teams are definitely targeting those guys. Like even in the Brentford game, Ouattara against Burn got sent off for 2 yellow cards against Ouattara. There's a clear targeting to get Burn on one-on-one situations, right?
Yeah.
So what are you finding that this is helping you build a picture of how the teams are performing that week over against the number of weeks they've already played? Or are you also seeing it as this could be a kind of a predictive way going forward? Now, there's no 100% of predictions, but like, what are you kind of, what's it helping you assess essentially?
Well, let's answer that question by going through the theory. So let's hop to the slides just a bit.
All right, let's do it. Great segue.
Let's make sure we do answer that question with these slides, right? Because I'm trying to find the balance between understanding and predicting.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you think that process, what the manager has implemented, what is clearly repeatable, that is going to continue. The manager can't put the ball in the back of the net. He can't stop the keeper from having a howler, right? All he can do is to set up the team to produce.
Yeah.
What actually happens is up to the personnel on the pitch.
Right.
So this is helping me to better understand performance. So I think if we liken it to Eddie Howe, as I've been producing that table, I thought Eddie Howe was being unlucky, right? But then after time, I'm seeing him dropping in my weighted table, and you get to the bottom of it, and you actually start to see it's real. So I think it's better at explaining performance than it is at predicting. But I still think it could be instructive because you can almost see the trend as you look at the table from week to week. So let's just hop to the second slide.
Let's do it.
Let's get into so this is where the betting markets piece. Just jump to the next one. There's just a title slide here, right? So what we want to do is to really just understand what XG is, and why we're skeptical about it is because where does human involvement come in, right? So what you're saying, that XG assigns a probability to each shot, representing the chance of scoring. So for example, you will have something like a shot from 30 yards. that might be given an XG of 0.02,
Yeah.
right? Where something closer to the goal might have a 0.6, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the game, they look at each shot with a number that's been assigned to it and add them up, and that's the total XG for the game. What I think, though, we need to appreciate is that apart from creating the models and the judgments going into the math that's set up in there, the assumptions, you still need an analyst. So there's special cameras at each ground, basically taking a video and shots of each shot taken on goal, right? So special cameras. But there's an analyst that needs to sit there and say, was this a big chance? Was the defender applying pressure? Was it a cutback? These are judgments, right? So you've got an analyst actually he's looking at that. Was that a cutback or not, right? So he's got to, so that influences the actual XG assigned. But then you would find that all these data sites, the XG generally comes in around the same number. They might be off by a point or two. Not by whole 2 goals, but 0.2 of a goal. Right. They might be off of 0.1, right? So that's where the noise comes in, but I don't think that noise is ever more than like a 0.1, 0.2. I don't know if you've observed anything different.
No, though I do tend to stick, like, so this year, because I started SofaScore, I'm just sticking with SofaScore. So I don't, do you know what I mean? So the numbers it's not going to change too much, but I just want it to be for consistency. You can do FOTMob, you can do whatever. So I'm not like overly precious about it, but just for consistency, because I started off with SofaScore, I just continue doing the SofaScore. Yeah.
But the betting markets, in terms of creating those odds, they need to be pretty good, and they got a pretty good large data set.
Yes.
Track record, right?
Yeah.
So this is where I realized that Canon Stats was doing something that the betting markets are doing, which is to weight the XG with actual output to bring it closer to reality. Yeah, we expected to score these goals, but how many did we actually score? So let's put 2/3 expected and 1/3 actual to balance it out, to temper it a little bit. Right, to give you the best view of the odds. That's what the betting markets do. Right, so what I want to do is to come up with something then that's less predictive, because I'm not trying to predict necessarily, I'm trying to understand. Yeah. And that's why I use a weighting that's closer to actual goals scored. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah. Optimal weighting and back test insights.
Yeah, let's go. Let's move on to the next. I should have taken these title slides out. So this is where I was trying to decide what is the optimal weighting. So if you just increase this, I don't know if you can increase the size on this a little bit. It's kind of. Are you able to zoom in a little?
I'm not sure I can, because it's a PDF. It's a PDF file.
All right, no worries. Okay. So what this is trying to show, right, is the XG weights on the side. So when you have 0 XG in the weighting model, that means that you're going purely based on goal difference.
Right.
Okay, so you're literally taking the goal difference that's on the actual table, goals scored, less goals against, and that gives you a best match of the points table. So that's an XG weight of 0.00. If you do 100% XG weight, so you don't consider any actual goals scored, that's actually the worst correlation to the actual table. So in other words, I looked at the last 3 years of actual tables and compared them to the XG tables.
Yeah.
All right. And then I did the weighted model from 0 to 100% weighted, no XG versus all XG, a table based on no XG versus all XG. And the actual result was worse when you use the 100% XG table. You look confused. Are you trying to understand why?
So is it saying that it's better to have at least a percentage of actual goals rather than just pure XG?
Correct. If you want to show positions that are most reflective of the actual
Of the game.
table, no, of the actual table,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
include less XG.
You should. Okay. Okay.
So when I say weighted, I'm trying to say, well, how much of the goal difference am I gonna use from the expected goals versus actual goals?
Because that makes sense. Because actual goals is actual goals. Like you can't. It's just objectively true.
That's
But
what creates the points.
that's what creates the points. There is underneath that, or different ways, is you can have lucky goals or whatever, right? And maybe that's where the XG creeps in. But you can't give too much weight to the XG because, like you said, it kind of itself comes down to human error. An analyst who's watching the goals and giving the XG and that side of things. There's an error to that. So you've got to give more weight to the actual objective goal itself. The goals are going in. For whatever reason, they're going in. You can be lucky, someone consider it lucky, but if it's consistently happening, like for instance, Arsenal corners, when Arsenal were consistently getting those scoring goals from set pieces, people were saying it's lucky. 2 years later, it's no longer lucky. It's just
Right.
it's a matter of fact. If Arsenal get a set piece against you, and now other teams are doing it, your Brentford's and everybody else's, right? So actual goals, what's actually happened in the game, you have to give it more weight.
Or
You
some
also-
weight. I'm trying to decide how much. So from 0 to 100, that's the point of this exhibit, right? So
Right.
from 0 to 100, if we include no XG, it's close. It's the best match to the table.
No XG. So okay, no XG is the best match.
Correct, because the points are goals actually scored for and against.
Right.
So
Okay.
Right. So the less XG you have, the more it reflects the actual table. The problem is the actual table doesn't actually necessarily reward your performance.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to balance.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. I get you.
So how much XG do we include versus not include in a methodology to come up with the best kind of table to understand performance?
Right.
So if you go to 50-50, so you create a goal difference table that's 50% XG and 50% actual goals, that gets worse.
Okay.
But you see, as soon as you go to 75% XG, see the 0.75 there, you get much worse.
Right.
So this is where betting markets, though, are in that 0.75. I wanted to find something in the middle between 0.5 and 0.75, and that's why I said 66% XG rating, or 2 to 1. In other
2
words,
to 1.
Goal difference is 2/3.
You got a 0.10 here that says almost identical. Isn't that good? I thought it would be 0. I forgot that wrong.
So a
You
good
got-
match to the actual table.
Say it again.
So what that means is that if you only use 10% XG and 90% actual goal difference,
Yeah.
it is a pretty good match to the actual table.
Oh, to the premise. Okay, to the table itself. Okay.
So the comment is best match to the actual table.
Okay. And what you want is so you chose to have 60% because it gives you
It gives me a reflection of the productivity or the process that the manager has implemented. Doesn't mean he's necessarily being rewarded for it, but the team itself is producing good XG.
yes. Yeah. So there's no
Right?
point in having 10% because you're just talking about the table at this stage. Like you're not even
Exactly.
you're not getting anything. Okay, I understand.
You got it exactly right. So
Okay.
you want to say, and this is where you have to assume that if the coach has a good process, that is over the long run going to elevate you in the table, because eventually the goals should follow the performance.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why XG is predictive, because what we're saying is that the team has a good process. That process is sustainable. And we'll test this, right? Because Crystal Palace has a really good process.
Mm-hmm.
They should be, according to my table, 4th place in the league. But they aren't, right? So over time, will they be rewarded for that good process? So that's why we have to have an element of process, because if you have a good process, that should, help you in the future. But the actual goals tell the real story. So we have to have an element of that in there.
Okay, makes sense. Let us know in the chat if it's making sense to you. I'm getting it for sure. You guys
Very, very complicated, guys.
Yeah, but I like it though. Like I think the more we do it, the more we'll get to understand it. Do you want to move to the next slide?
Sure, please. Yep.
Yeah. And you know what?
We just covered a lot of this. Yeah.
What I was going to add, so I was going back because just speaking on Crystal Palace, because what it also does is open up conversations to say Crystal Palace and Newcastle. Say for instance, like you said, so long as the process. What I was going to add is so long as the process is repeated week on week, but when all conditions and everything else changes, i.e., a player is injured, so. Newcastle were 4th at one point in your table. Why have they, now they've gone 7th? What has happened to the process that was happening in the first 5 or 6 games? Right? Well,
your XG against deteriorated over that time.
It deteriorated, right? People said, oh, is Dan Burn at left back?
Correct. So people started creating more chances by attacking your weaknesses.
Right, exactly. And we started getting, we're very conscious of our weaknesses to the point where we don't even play out the back using those guys anymore. We're using the same guys, Tonali and Bruno, and people are just targeting them. So I think that's where the data and what you're seeing in the eye test comes together. I think that's where it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of that. So interesting. All right.
So we try to find the right blend of the theory, which is, hey, this is what should have happened. A player in that position would have scored that goal, but it didn't actually happen. Right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to say, well, if it should have happened in this game, if things are held constant, Eddie Howe will create those chances in the next 3 games.
Right.
So we do need to have a lot of process, assuming that's going to be repeatable, and at some point you will be rewarded with actual goals.
Okay, got you. We're going to have Lewis Hall coming back, and we've got City next. So I'll be looking for. Hopefully, I'll get the result. But if the result doesn't happen, does our creativity or our XG improve? Even though maybe the result or the actual goals don't. Do you know what I mean? So then we can see is the process at least is the process getting better despite the result. Therefore, if it is getting better, then I guess having Lewis Hall back is improving things. So therefore, hopefully that you will over time see that improve going forward in terms of games going forward. Hopefully, anyway. So comparing XG table to actual table.
Yeah, that's the bit of the discussion we just went through, right? So we actually just looked at the 24-25 just to see what's the difference between the actual table and the XG table. So here are the things that impact here, right? Finishing variance, meaning how clinical are your strikers? Goalkeeper form, are you Sanchez throwing the ball in the net? Injuries, tactics, right? Or just lucky Maresca. Right, all these are things that influence the actual table, right? So this is where you want to include some XG to get some predictive value in there, right? What does the manager's process promise better future performance? If you have a good manager with good repetitive attacking actions, defensive actions, you have to assume that is going to bail you out in the games to come. So that's why that's why for predictive element, we want a heavy weighting towards XG. So again, just to cut it short, what we're trying to do is we're coming up with a goal difference. Not just the raw goal difference that you see in the table, that's actual goals for less actual goals against. What we're doing is taking expected goals for, weighting it by 2 to 1, with actual goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to get that
Yeah.
predictive element, but to dampen down the luck and the noise with actual that comes out of the actual results.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the picture as well. We're all looking like Matrix and that.
Right. So that's what we're saying. The blended metrics importance. Using XG as a combination with other metric improves ranking accuracy over standalone XG use. Because what you're saying is, look, XG, yeah, it's all about process, but injuries happen, tactics happen, goalkeepers throw balls in nets, etc.
Do you think it helps you, well, I don't know if the next slide shows it, identify where, because you kind of mentioned it actually already, but where I guess things are going right or where things are going wrong?
At a high level, yes, you can see if the driver is deteriorating XG or XG against. So like in Newcastle's instance, you can see clearly that your fall in my table is a result of expected goals against.
Expected goals against, yeah.
If you can see that Newcastle is now having a defensive problem. They had a fairly low expected goals already. But then to add defensive problems on top of that, but apart from what part of the defense, etc., it doesn't actually tell you that.
Right. But you just know it's defense, and that's where you can use the eye test and like, oh, okay, I can see that.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, manager evaluation and predictive value.
Yeah, let's see what these bullets are in here. So this whole discussion we've just been through, right, which is goals measure the quality of what you're doing is better measured by XG. Goals tell you the straight outcome.
Adrian says, "Do we get as typical of being on this course?"
you actually need some PQE, some professional qualification. What do you call it now? Where you need to get those credits to keep your professional certification. That's correct, Adrian. It's a painful night, but what we're trying to do, we're really trying to understand performance, my friend.
Yeah.
We're just trying to copy the better markets. We want to be less predictive, just really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Right, so you're saying I landed on a 2-1 weighting. So in other words, my goal difference table is 2 XG to 1 actual goal, right? And the reverse is true. So this is so what I'm trying to do is to develop a method that provides a more stable weekly understanding of performance.
So obviously the testing pad is this season, isn't it? Like that's what we're going to see.
And I want to destroy my own narrative that Maresca is lucky. Right? So
fair play.
Right? So
you're going out of your own way. Fair play to you. You're going out of your own way to be as objective as you can. Fair play.
There we go. Yeah, we can jump to the next slide.
Practical comparisons of tables.
All right. So yeah, so that's where. So we're looking at game week 11, and this is where we were, just looking at the fact that I don't know if you could just pull it up quickly. If you could switch to the tweet, because I want to zero in on the two teams that are performing better or worse.
I keep taking you out by accident. Share screen. Here we go.
Right. So if you look at Crystal Palace, just looking at the change in position column, second from right, see Crystal Palace and Brighton are not being rewarded right now. This is where I think their performance should be.
So they're fourth at the moment, but you think
Crystal
they should?
Palace, Crystal Palace isn't fourth at the moment. They are actually in 10th.
So they should be fourth according to your table in terms of how they're performing.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Right. So if you see that position table, that's where they are relative to the table. Sunderland should be in 11th. Right. So they're 7 points higher. Sorry. I'm saying they should be in 11th. Aston Villa, again, I think Aston Villa is more of a 13th, 14th place team, just looking at the overall season. But again, they went through a poor patch. Then they did well, right? So they're now trying to. They probably would have been in the relegation places before, but in the actual table, I think their underlying metrics are actually quite poor early in the season.
Okay.
Right. Nottingham Forest, right about around where they should be. Right.
And Burnley.
And yes. Well,
Man
Burnley
United.
for sure.
You got Man United at. Are they where they should be as well?
They absolutely are. I think they are. I mean, so my weighted goal difference for them is just just one off, right? So they're doing quite well, and I think the metrics are their XGA, from what I recall, is pretty high. But yeah, so I think this is in terms of what teams are actually doing, whether or not they're being rewarded. This is where I'm trying to say, look, Crystal Palace should come back. So should Brighton. So they're going through a bit of a lull now, but their underlying process is so strong that you can expect them to rise in the table again.
Right.
Liverpool, they still got some work to do. Chelsea is right where they should be for right now. But this is where I temper it by saying that's after some easy fixtures, right?
Okay.
So what's going to happen to Chelsea going forward, right? Because this table doesn't contemplate the difficulty of the opposition, right? It's just purely based on what's happened today. So yeah, I mean, I think if the season were to end this way, Newcastle would be disappointed. Is Crystal Palace, Brighton, and Brentford going to stay in the top 7? Probably not.
So there's all to play for, basically.
Correct. It's not perfect, but you can expect that one of those three are going to stay up there, because surely one of those three will have process that's rewarded over the remaining 3 quarters of the season. Right?
Okay. So Palace. What about Brighton? Do you think they're going to drop out as well, or do you think they've got pretty healthy numbers on here?
Yeah, I think Brighton is lower in the table than they should be based on what they're doing.
Okay. Right.
So that's how that table works for me. Are teams relatively close to where they should be? Probably not. That's what that immediately tells me. So teams without strong underlying process rise in the rankings, while those with poor defense are finishing drops. Okay, so this is how this 2-to-1 metric should reward or punish you. That's the theory behind this table.
Okay. So we're gonna get our weekly or so dose of it as well, just to see how teams are doing. Newcastle and Chelsea over and under performances.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to say that 0.3 of a variance on next year is not that far off. So that's the sad story. You're probably right. You're probably a 10th place team in the league.
Yeah.
Right. Which is not great. I think that's about right. I think Chelsea seems to have the opposite problem, but I think our fixtures will weigh easier.
Okay. So key is okay.
But they're the insights I've been repeating, right? So AI has figured out and will tell you right now that Newcastle is underperforming due to a poor defense. Although it doesn't really talk about your chance creation, whereas Chelsea's result reflect a true underlying strength. But my problem is that strength has not been tested by quality teams.
Okay. So you're gonna be updating this on a weekly basis, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'll publish that every week, just just discussion point among ourselves, just to see, well, where is it relative to last week? Where is it relative to the actual table?
Because I think it's super interesting because I think, like you said, 3 or 4 weeks ago, Newcastle should have been fourth or fifth if in terms of XG and everything else, and it's dropped out this seat, and it's obviously now is they've gone down for various reasons. I think it's got a lot of information there that one can take on. I think. I was gonna say towards the end, let me see. We're talking about going forward, and obviously this Thursday, not Thursday, or Thursday show, I'm going to be doing a match preview for Man City. So let me quickly go back to the table. You guys have got Burnley. Let's start off with. Let's give our predictions. Let's start off with let's put the table to the text. Let's do some predictions already.
Right.
So Newcastle are playing Man City at home. That could be the other column we might need to add as well. Home and away fixtures. I know, just to add a
This
little
topic is just it's complicated enough, man.
bit. So City are, if you're looking at again XG, I forgot where they sit in the Premier League. I think they're second as well, aren't they?
Well, you can see so relative to position, meaning that
Oh,
this
0-0. Yeah.
yeah.
So they're exactly where they should be. Their metrics, their XGs, everything reflective of that. It's the second best team in the country at the moment.
Yes, you know what you're coming up against. What is going to be? City might underestimate Newcastle though. Newcastle is 4 places. Wait, hold on a second. Yeah, so you are 4 places better worse off than your performances are. So they are looking at you as a 14th or 13th place team. You're actually a 10th place team. So they might underestimate your capability.
I hope so. We've got the man. I'm putting a lot of responsibility on Lewis Hall. It's going to change. He's going to be playing it. So Dan Burn is off. So he's got the red card. So he's not playing. Lewis Hall. So I'm going to be doing the match preview for it. But just to say that Dan Burn's going to be off. Lewis Hall's going to be left back. I think we're going to have Wissa on the bench, possibly Livramento, but I think Wissa will be back on the bench at least for this game as well. With a Voltamara who scored 1 goal against Slovakia, just gone, and 2 goals against Luxembourg. So 3 goals whilst he's been on international leave. So I'm kind of already bigging up Newcastle here. But essentially saying, and we're at home. So I'm hopefully we've got some things going towards our way. But if you're looking at XG, you're just looking at a cold, hard look at it. City obviously are favourites to win the game. Chelsea, third. You're third on the XG table, which is 1 place below where you are on the. No, you're 1 place above where you are in the table.
Yeah, I mean, so we are right where we should be according to my table.
You're right where you
So
should
0.
be.
Yeah, so we're in 3rd place. My weighted XG table says Chelsea should be in 3rd place. So Maresca's right, right, Adrian Pickett is losing his shit. We're giving Adrian indigestion with his dinner. Yeah, so Chelsea is right where it should be, and we're playing Burnley. So this should be a nice weekend of stat padding again for Maresca.
And Burnley are right where they should be. So it is a 3rd place team playing a 20th place team in the country as well. So lots to look forward to. I'm gonna before we go off there, I'm gonna quickly go to the where is my I took it off, that's why. So this is I'm gonna see Newcastle's and then Chelsea. So obviously we're playing City next. Is this what season is this? I hope it's still 24, 25. Yeah, so we've got City next. Table fixtures.
While you find that, I'll also just tell Adrian, look, after all this talk, just to simplify what I'm doing, I'm simply creating a table that the betting markets would use for predictions. That's all I'm doing.
And then you'll be at some point putting your money where your mouth is as well, and then
Maybe offer some odds.
and then so yeah, we've got City next. We'll go away to Marseille. That's going to be crazy. Everton. By the way, on the table, I can't see it, but let me see it. So Everton are the second team we're playing. Everton are share this table instead. Everton are 12th on your XG table, but where are they in the league?
So they're probably 13th because they're +1 on that.
Oh yeah.
So they're in 13th.
Okay.
So Everton is performing as expected. So their underlying process and production are where you'd expect it to be.
Interesting times ahead for Eddie Howe and the Toon. All right. So, Bobby. So going forward, like we're gonna be bringing up this table in the future, guys. And hey, if you guys are, if you want to be able to assess, we're gonna assess the team. We're gonna use it to assess the team's performances and do a little bit of predictions going forward and see where we're at. Because we might just also predict like the rest of the league, not the rest of the league, but like the games going forward. Because typically, like to Newcastle games or whoever we play, so we might use this one to predict some of the teams going forward as well.
I think it'd be good for you and I just to get together and use it to understand performance, right? Because I think we can see that it actually explains where our teams are.
Exactly. Well, all right. So, guys, you've heard it here first. We did a real in-depth analysis in terms of XG tables, everything else. Hopefully, for those of you that stuck it out with us, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to be going back and forth on this table that Bobby really helpfully created as well. So hopefully it help us to better understand and assess where our team performances are at the moment, as well as other teams as well. Bobby, let folks know where they can find you.
At Bobby Fairview on X. Reach out. Always interested in a good technical, substantive conversation.
Absolutely, and the followers are growing every day as well, and deservedly so. And folks, I'm going to be doing back this Thursday, doing a match preview. I just saw that our game on Saturday is at 5:30, so that's an interesting time as well. So guys, this Thursday we're going to be doing a match preview for the City game, taking all these metrics into consideration and seeing what can Newcastle do. Got me a thumbnail idea already against all odds. That's going to be a thumbnail for the Man City game. We're going to be a match preview for this Thursday. Make sure you join us as well. You've been absolutely phenomenal as always, guys. And as always, folks, take care of yourselves and God bless, folks.